Hi, everybody. I'm Pierre Bouvard, Chief Insights Officer at the Audio Active Group here at Cumulus Media in Westwood One. And today we're asking the question, what is the extraordinary cost of your dull ads? Well, to answer that question, we turn to a brand new study that is called The Extraordinary Cost of Dull. And in that study, we find that boring ads cost a lot of money. They require that you spend twice as much to 2.5 times as much media just to get the same impact as interesting ads. Now, this new study comes to us from major leaders in creative effectiveness and marketing effectiveness. We have John Evans, the CMO of System One and the System One Creative Testing Database, Adam Morgan, who is the founder of Eat Big Fish, a legendary London-based challenger brand agency, as well as Peter Field, who has been dubbed one of the two godfathers of marketing effectiveness alongside with Les Binet. So this project started with work from Adam Morgan and Peter Field. They were examining the thousands of case studies from the Institute for the Practitioners of Advertising, who run the world's largest effectiveness competition. And they were examining the business outcomes of ads with emotion and rational, i.e. dull ads. Then System One contributed to the project with their hundreds of thousands of creative tests. And in the US, this study focused on thousands of TV ads and radio ads that had been measured by System One. So the 6 key findings from this foundational work. First and foremost, the primary reaction to advertising is neutrality on the behalf of the consumer. That is the absence of any emotion, neither positive or negative. And from a dollars and cents standpoint, marketers have to spend 2 to 2.5 times more on dull ads than on interesting ads to achieve the same business outcomes, whether that's profit growth, share growth, or very large business effects. The key to interesting ads is emotion. And Les Binet, one of the other two godfathers of marketing effectiveness, says that emotion is the most powerful selling tool that we have. System One's creative testing assigns 1 to 5 star to your ads, and the more stars, the more you feel and the more consumers will buy. So there are 5 key questions you can ask yourself to make your ads more interesting. Are we meeting the audience where they care and speaking to them in their language? Are we using a real independent third-party evaluation of our creative effectiveness? Are we showing real distinctiveness and character? Are we using emotion, drama, and storytelling? And are we denying one of their key assumptions and surprising them? And last key finding is that funny ads really work. New research from System One reveals 5 times more market share growth from funny ads versus the least funny ads. So Peter Field finds that dull ads don't work very hard. He examined the market share growth in terms of share points of funny, entertaining, emotion-based fame ads in blue versus dull, rational ads in gray. And you can see 6 times more future market share growth from ads that are emotion-based, humor-based, and interesting versus dull ads. And what that means is you as a marketer have to spend a ton of money on media just to achieve the same impact as interesting ads. And so if you think about scrimping on your creative or maybe not getting a creative agency, this can be actually a very expensive proposition, because if you have dull ads, you have to spend 2 to 2.5 times more to get the same market share, profit, and business outcomes. So in the US, here is the System One testing and reaction to ads. Radio on top, TV on the bottom. You can see the primary reaction is dullness in gray. The green are the positive emotions of happiness and surprise. As you can see, the negative, fear, anger, disgust, contempt are not really big issues with ads on TV or on radio in the US. But the big issue is this lack of any feeling whatsoever. Those are the consumer-based ads. The B2B ads, unfortunately, are even duller, with a greater proportion reacting with no emotion whatsoever. Now, it's interesting to note, if you toggle back and forth between the two, the TV and the radio scores are very similar, which is interesting because it kind of puts a stake in the heart through the myth that somehow video ads are more compelling or more effective because they have sight, sound, and motion. One of the most significant findings ever to come out of the Ehrenberg Bass Institute of Marketing Science is their 95-5 rule. 5% of consumers are in market at any given time. 95% are not in market. So think about that. When you write your ads, do we have a strategy for the 5%? And do we have a strategy for the 95%? Because you need very different media and creative strategies. So when you're targeting the 5%, you are converting existing demand. People are in market and they want to buy. And so that's where dull ads come in, and they have a role here because you're talking about a sales event. You have pretty dry, rational performance marketing copy, and you're trying to go after the small number that are in market. But the creating future demand 95% group, you need very different creative and media. The goal here is to be known before you're needed. So yes, you need dull ads for those sales event ads. You're trying to create a lead, you're trying to get sales, you're tightly targeting, you're being persuasive. That has a time and a place. But you need interesting ads to go after the 95%. Because you need to be known before you're needed. And so you need to create memories that will last, enduring memories. You need broad reach campaigns, and you need ads that are interesting, entertaining, emotional. Les Binet says it best: emotion is the most powerful selling tool we have. To build a strong brand, you've got to start preparing consumers long before they come in market, long before they even start considering the category. And because they're not focused on the category or the brand or the need, you have to engage people with things that are intrinsically interesting at a human level, and that will be remembered for a very long time. So System 1 evaluates ads with a 1 to 5 star rating. The more stars, the more people feel, and the more they buy. And the more stars, the greater the long-term market share for your business and for your brand. Ads that get a 1 star have basically zero impact on future market share growth, but 2, 3, 4 stars, you can see more long-term market share. So why are ads so dull? Adam Morgan has identified 4 key drivers of this dullness. First of all, performance marketing. It's a hot and sexy marketing approach. You get a lot of short-term transactional metrics. It is aimed at people in market. So the focus is really making a sale, which tends to lead to a lot of neutrality and, quite frankly, dullness. Optimization also plays a role here. When you have so many media channels and things that you're advertising across, you tend to focus more on the knobs and the dials and the media choices, and you de-emphasize time spent to create interesting creative, so you get a lot of less interesting ads. Averaging. If you take all the ads for brands in a category, oftentimes we find a lot of similarity. And what Adam Murrell has called the age of average. And so nothing really looks bad, but nothing stands out, and that is a recipe for dullness. Lastly, the procurement, cutting costs at big agencies and marketers. All of that focus on cost cutting tends to, unfortunately, create repetitive and dull ads. So what are the 5 questions that you can ask yourself when you're working on your brand, your strategy, and your advertising to make interesting ads and avoid dull? So number 1, are we meeting the audience where they care and speaking to them in their language? People find ads that are interesting when they're about things they care about, and they're not full of jargon and business speak. Number 2, are we using a real third-party independent evaluation of our ads as opposed to our opinion? like System One or ABX, companies that can give you fast, objective measures of how interesting the ads are. Are we showing real distinctiveness and character? Does your ad sound, feel, look distinctively like your brand? And you might use a reoccurring brand character, slogan, or situation to create an entertaining brand platform. Are we using emotion, drama, and storytelling? Because if you entertain for business gain. Nothing beats dullness more thoroughly than an entertaining ad or even a funny one. And then are we denying a key assumption of the audience and then surprising them? Because surprise is another key positive emotional attribute in addition to happiness, and that'll make people sit up and notice. So to the right of your screen are elements, right brain elements from System 1, characters with vitality, story unfolding, clear sense of place, sounds of the living, music with discernible melody. These are all attributes to create interesting ads. Now, what System 1 has found is that funny ads, humorous ads really work. The funniest ads drive 5 times more market share growth than the least funny ads. So System 1 organized ads from the most solemn, the most serious, all the way to the funniest, and this is based on the consumer reaction to the ad. It wasn't the opinion of System 1. And they bucketed them into 4 groups from funny to most solemn. And you can see the funnier the ads, the better the score. The more stars and therefore the more long-term market share growth. In fact, the funniest ads 5 times the long-term market share growth than the most dull ads. The key is to be interesting. Legendary ad man David Ogilvy said, you can't bore people into buying your product. You can only interest them. So if you're selling fire extinguishers, open with the fire. Adam Morgan created a wonderful podcast series called Let's Make This More Interesting. He interviewed people that excel at making things interesting, reality show producers, teachers, writers on Sesame Street. The key is to entertain for emotional gain. Paul Feldwick, in his book, Why Does the Peddler Sing? What Creativity Really Means in Advertising, says, embrace the idea that advertising is at least as much about showmanship as it is about salesmanship. It's time to rediscover the fact that advertising builds brands best when it's entertaining, popular, and memorable. When it's not just a pitch, but it's a performance. So our 6 key findings. We have a lot of neutrality in the evaluation of our ads. In fact, it is the most common reaction to ads. You have to spend a ton of money if you have a dull ad, 2 to 2.5 times more to get the same business outcomes as interesting ads. So your most powerful selling tool you have is emotion. And as System 1 showed us, the better the ad, the more the stars, the greater the emotion, and the more people will buy. And then ask yourself those 5 questions when you're sitting down to consider your strategy and consider your creative. And don't forget humor, 5 times as much market share growth than solemn ads. The Audio Active Group here at Cumulus Media in Westwood One is a full-service national brand advisory. We offer media planning recommendations, creative best practices, and measurement. We will measure the sales effect, brand effect, or search and site attribution of your campaign, as well as testing your creative. Each and every week, we publish a new audio insight or case study. You can find it on our blog, cumulusmedia.com or westwood1.com. And when you're there, you can sign up to get our weekly audio case study and insight sent directly to your email box. Thanks so much for the opportunity to take you through why dull ads are extraordinarily costly. Thanks so much.